Your writing, your prose, your descriptions of nature. I think that we couldn't have done without you. So thank you. And I'm going to hand over to Her Majesty.
Queen Camilla is allegedly furious after a last-minute royal decision left her grandson out. Prince George received the spotlight, but at what cost? Palace sources claim this snub struck deep. Was it personal or tradition? The truth may shock you. Watch closely, and make sure to hit that subscribe button. The palace announcement sounded routine, a ceremonial title for Prince George. To the public, it felt like a natural next step for the young heir. But within palace walls, the atmosphere reportedly shifted immediately. Camilla, now queen consort, allegedly found out just like everyone else through the official statement. There were no briefings, no personal conversation, not even a quiet heads up. The news hit hard. This wasn't just about George being honored. For Camilla, it marked something far more personal. A dream she had nurtured quietly for years had just been shut down, without warning, without explanation. And that silence spoke volumes. Camilla's journey into the royal family wasn't easy.
75 now, and I can't remember anybody except the Queen Bee.
But after decades of public scrutiny, she had finally earned her place beside the king. Still, she had one private goal left: seeing her own family accepted, even symbolically, by the institution she now helped represent. Her children, Tom and Laura, stayed out of the spotlight. Their kids, especially young Freddie, were occasionally seen at royal events. Camilla made sure of that. She arranged subtle moments, family portraits, appearances at gatherings, favorable seating. It wasn't about making them royal, it was about making them feel they belonged. But that quiet effort now felt invisible. According to insiders, Camilla had quietly hoped for a symbolic gesture, maybe a ceremonial honor or minor title for Freddie, not to equate him with Prince George, but to acknowledge his role as family. Nothing grand, just recognition. She never made public demands. She simply placed him near the heart of royal events, letting his presence speak for itself. It was a slow, subtle campaign. Those close to her believed it could happen, one day. But when the title went to George without even a mention of Freddie, the message became clear. The monarchy's future did not include her branch of the family. Behind closed doors, those who witnessed Camilla's reaction say she was visibly shaken.
I have to admit, in the end, I ended up probably being a sort of pony-mad child.
It wasn't anger, it was heartbreak. She didn't dispute George's worthiness, but learning of the decision alongside the public confirmed what she had quietly feared. Her grandchildren would never be part of the royal fabric. Camilla allegedly retreated into her private quarters, holding the printed statement in her hands. One staffer described her as whispering, "They've erased us." That moment shattered something deeper than just royal ambition. It cut into a grandmother's silent hope that her family might be recognized for more than their proximity to the crown. Sources say Prince William and Princess Kate have always had a clear vision: preserve the royal bloodline, reduce confusion, and streamline the monarchy. For them, titles represent lineage, not personal relationships. They are said to be cautious about expanding royal status to step relatives, even those as close as Camilla's family. William, reportedly aware of how Camilla might react, chose silence. No discussion, no negotiation. It wasn't personal, it was principle. But that silence became louder than any speech. Camilla had hoped time and trust would open the door. William quietly closed it, keeping the royal circle tight and her family out. King Charles found himself caught between two roles: monarch and husband. Privately, Camilla had spoken to him about Freddie. She didn't ask for a grand title, just a small nod of acceptance. Charles, always the diplomat, is said to have agreed in spirit. "We'll find the right moment," he'd reassured her. But when that moment arrived, Charles sided with William. Reports suggest he proposed a lower title as a middle ground. William rejected it. For him, any honor given to a step-grandchild risked blurring royal lines. In the end, Charles didn't press further. The result? Camilla felt not just overlooked, but betrayed. Following the announcement, Camilla reportedly withdrew from several scheduled engagements. Officially, it was for health reasons. But behind the scenes, staff saw something different. The Queen, once vibrant and warm, had grown distant. Charles, understanding the pain his decision caused, gave her space. No arguments, no attempts to explain. One palace aide said, the silence between them said everything. Camilla, once the outsider who earned her way in, was suddenly reminded she still stood apart. The crown she wore had not protected what mattered most to her. In that moment, the queen consort became simply a grandmother, left out in the cold. Freddie Parker Bowles had quietly become a familiar face at royal events. Always well-mannered, always present, but never officially acknowledged. Camilla worked hard to place him near royal traditions, hoping it would build quiet momentum toward acceptance. His appearances in photos, at public gatherings, seated beside royals, these weren't accidents. They were her way of saying, he belongs. Yet when the ceremonial title was granted granted to George, Freddie wasn't even mentioned. The silence around his name was deafening. To Camilla, it wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a message. Her family's future within the monarchy didn't exist, not even symbolically. The title decision didn't just create personal pain, it revealed a philosophical divide. Camilla's view of the monarchy had evolved into something more inclusive, blending families and roles. But William's approach remained rooted in tradition: a tighter monarchy, fewer members, and clearer rules. Both visions aimed to protect the crown, but from different threats. Camilla feared irrelevance, William feared confusion. That quiet tension, simmering for years, finally boiled over with a single announcement, not with confrontation, but with omission. And that's where the deeper conflict lies, not in drama, but in quiet choices that leave lasting emotional consequences behind royal walls. William and Kate's modern approach to the monarchy is deliberate. Clear lines, fewer titles, limited roles, it's efficient. But with that clarity comes cost. Camilla's family was left on the sidelines, their contributions unseen. While the public applauded Prince George's new honor, those close to Camilla saw something else: a wall going up. Camilla had spent years presenting her family with grace, never demanding inclusion. And now, that quiet effort was met with a definitive silence. To her, it wasn't just policy, it was rejection, one that came without warning, without dialogue, the kind of decision that leaves wounds long after the headlines fade. Camilla's rise wasn't quick or easy. For decades, she carried the weight of public skepticism, yet managed to climb every rung of the royal ladder with quiet strength. She endured, adapted, and eventually stood alongside King Charles, not just as a partner, but as queen consort. That crown symbolized more than position. For Camilla, it was proof that her past didn't define her. She believed her journey had finally led to acceptance, not just for her, but for her family as well. But behind the gilded palace doors, her heart told a different story. Because despite her unwavering loyalty, her grandchildren remained outsiders, welcomed at events, but never embraced in legacy. Sources say Camilla took the title snub personally, not as an attack on her grandson Freddie directly, but as a verdict, final and unspoken, that no matter how close she stood to the throne, her lineage would never sit at its table. Her years of effort, the careful steps she took to gradually present her family with dignity and visibility, now felt like they had disappeared in a single press release. What broke her heart wasn't the title itself, it was the symbolism. It was the reminder that, even as queen, her deepest wishes held no weight when measured against the traditions of royal blood. One longtime staff member claimed Camilla sat silently in her private room for hours that day, staring at the official document with Prince George's name printed on it. She reportedly murmured words no one expected to hear: "So it ends with me." She had envisioned a legacy, not one based on power or prestige, but on presence. A simple recognition that her grandchildren, though not of royal birth, had stood beside the monarchy with pride, loyalty, and love. Instead, she was reminded that titles are not just honors, they're declarations. And this declaration was clear: her legacy had no royal future. Insiders say Camilla began to question everything. Had she misread the signals? Had the kindness shown to her family at events been mere courtesy, not progress? She thought time would earn her children and grandchildren at least a ceremonial place in history, just enough to say they were part of this. Now she realized those hopes were never shared by others. In the days that followed, her demeanor reportedly changed. Those who saw her described a quiet woman going through the motions, not bitter, not angry, just deeply reflective. Even her relationship with Charles, usually steady, was strained. While he had offered comfort, he hadn't offered protection. And for Camilla, that made all the difference. When she needed him to speak up for her family, he had instead deferred to the institution. It wasn't a betrayal in words, but in silence. The queen consort, who had once defied tradition to be with the man she loved, now found herself isolated by that same tradition. For years, she fought to gain the respect of a nation, and in many ways, she succeeded. But the one thing she could never rewrite was the royal family's rules about blood and who gets remembered. Camilla's heartbreak wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, slow, and deeply personal. A realization that she had won the crown, but lost the legacy. Let us know what you think in the comments. Was Camilla treated fairly, or was this simply royal duty? For more stories from behind palace walls, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because the next royal twist could be just one headline away.